how to prepare for Mod C creative writing if you don't know what the question will be. Well, you can still have a base draft. And I think as I just went through, you want to have a base discursive piece, for instance, okay? They already asked specifically for an imaginative 3 years ago. What I suspect they might do this year, this is pure speculation, so don't be led astray by my hypothesis. All I would suggest is that they might give you an option of two things, and it could be between discursive or persuasive, or they might do discursive and imaginative. They might specifically ask for persuasive, but if you've already prepared a discursive, it translates so easily to persuasive that I think the whole game is really preparing for the discursive and imaginative. And of course, you should consider how you would change your discursive to a persuasive. But I think having a discursive base that can, and then you practice adapting that to a persuasive mode is the way to go. You don't need to have a separate persuasive. And then you really do need to put a little bit more thought into the imaginative and think, okay, how would I create a setting and a bit of a plot so that I could incorporate what I want to talk about in my discursive into the imaginative. So you can definitely have a base draft. To your point about not knowing what the question is, make sure that when you build that draft, that it's based very closely on the prescribed text that you studied in Module C. Okay? That's how you're going to be able to be more adaptable to the kinds of questions that come up, because some questions might require you to use a character from the prescribed text. Okay? They might actually require you to use a setting from the prescribed text. And you want to have already done that in your draft so that you can easily address that. Whereas if you just create a completely random piece of writing that isn't based on the same ideas or concerns of the text that you studied in Module C, that's going to be a lot harder. Okay, so make sure that you base your draft piece, again, discursive or imaginative, there are good ones to prepare as a base, and then you create the variations for the other ones. They should all be about the same idea and concern. You don't have to create three different pieces that are about three different ideas. You should have one idea and you explore it in the three different modes of writing: imaginative, discursive, persuasive. Okay. And I think I have some other videos out there on this in terms of how to think about that preparation process, but start by using your preferred form out of discursive and imaginative. Pick whatever your favorite is out of those two. Create a draft that is about a similar idea, a similar concern, right? A similar moment as your prescribed text that you're basing your style of writing on. Okay. So a lot of people will study a prescribed Module C text, and then all that they'll do is they'll use a couple of techniques that the composer used in that text, but they won't write about a similar thing. I think you should write about a similar thing. You can present it in a different way. You can put your own twist on it. I think that's important, but I actually would say stick close to what they were on about. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing, but just something related in case a very specific question comes up. That's the first point about, how do you prepare for it in that way? You prepare for it so that it's going to be pretty adaptable to what those Module C questions could be. The second way to prepare is to actually get your drafts and practice doing a whole bunch of questions. So you actually face the music there and you say, look, if I'm in the exam with my pre-prepared drafts for imaginative, discursive, persuasive, how would I actually deal with this kind of question? How would I deal with a visual stimulus if I got this kind of image? Give yourself the worst case scenarios and then force yourself to deal with it in terms of adapting what you had to that question. You also have to interpret the stimulus very broadly. Watch my video on how to adapt a Module C text to any question, because there's a certain way of thinking about it that's required so that you don't kind of box yourself in and think, oh, I have to interpret the stimulus in this way, so now my piece is completely irrelevant. It's probably not irrelevant. You're probably just not interpreting the stimulus in the right way. So you want to make the stimulus work for your draft. Don't make your draft work for the stimulus, okay? You have to find a way to interpret it so that it actually still works and applies to your pre-prepared draft. And then you have to make adaptations, of course, and changes to make it clear that you're answering that question and responding to that stimulus. You make those throughout as you go. And that's why you make sure you have plenty of time to spare and make sure that your draft is not too long. So you time it out, make sure you can do the whole Module C section in 30 minutes, I would say even. So you have a bit of extra reserve time in case the essays take a bit longer than expected. 30 minutes to do the whole Module C, including the reflection. So about 14 to 15 minutes for a shorter version of the composition, and then 13, 14, 15 minutes for a reflection. And then you might also have some other sections in mind. If you get asked a 20 marker, you could get a 20 mark composition and then not be asked to do a reflection. In that case, you want to have some other material to include so that your answer is a bit longer. So you might also be familiar with that.